The 69th episode of UNC Hoops Talk. I'm so glad that you are here listening or watching this podcast. I am your host, Dan DeWitt.
It's going to be legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
Well, maybe. We'll see about that. But I'm so glad you're here. We're here to talk all things UNC basketball. The season is here. Basketball games have been played, and we're looking mighty good. But you knew that already. So we're going to jump in. Before we get to that, we got another commitment to talk about. We got an exhibition game that we're going to go through, and our two games thus far, as well as looking ahead to the next week of games. And, oh, man, I can't even contain myself. As I'm recording it, it's Tuesday, November 17, 2015, but it is even more important than that is the tip-off marathon going on. This is one of my favorite days to be a stay-at-home dad. My daughter is at preschool. As I record this, my son is napping. Hopefully he does that through the entire podcast here. But, I get to play with him. I get to watch basketball, and it's just a glorious day. It's great to be a basketball fan, and it is a great season. Not that there's ever a bad one. But this is going to be a really special season to be a Tar Heel fan, and I am so excited. I hope I don't have to say that too many more times this podcast, and I hope you can hear it through my voice how excited I am that games are here. I know in past podcasts I even got called out about saying I was excited, but maybe not sounding like it, and I'm trying not to do it fake or anything like that. I'm trying to just be myself, but I am super pumped. My wife has already gotten mad at me for how much college basketball has been on the TV, starting with last Friday night with our first game, and Saturday, Sunday when we played again. Last night is when she finally, asked to watch something else. Of course, I said no and sent her to bed. No, I didn't. But it's amazing. It's here. And I am so very ready, and I know you are too. That's why you're listening to this podcast. So, yes, today is Tuesday, November 17. We are 2-0 as it stands right now, and looking to make it 3-0 tomorrow. We'll get into that later in the podcast. But to start things off, Seventh Woods commits to be a Tar Heel next year. And so our 2016 class now includes Tony Bradley, a 6'9", 6'10" center out of Florida. Brandon Robinson, a 6'5" shooting guard / wing, good shooter. Really excited about that, out of Georgia. And now we have Seventh Woods, a 6'2" combo guard out of South Carolina, committed. And we have room for, I know, at least one more. Not sure who that's going to be. The one guy out there I'd still like is the Alkins kid, who transferred into a North Carolina high school and has been unofficially to North Carolina 3 times now, I think. I don't know what our chances are of getting him or anything like that. If we're going to get somebody else that's going to really contribute next year, it's going to be him. But right now, looking good. Couple of guard / wings, a big man with some good moves. Most recently Seventh Woods. Roy had been after him, since pretty much the 8th grade, 4 years, kind of the longest he's ever recruited a player. The hardest since Harrison Barnes, at least, and it paid off. We got him. Explosive player, very athletic. I don't know. People are comparing him to Dexter Strickland, maybe the Dexter Strickland before kind of injuries. I think better ball handler. I think more athletic. But again, maybe I'm just remembering kind of after a couple of injuries there for Strickland towards the end of his career. Wasn't quite. I mean, he's still very athletic, but not as explosive as Seventh Woods is right now. Go check out his mixtapes. He's got some huge dunks. Very athletic kid. Can handle the ball. He can play point guard better than Strickland could for the Tar Heels as well. But we'll also see how that develops. I don't think he's a pure point guard or anything like that by any means. But it'll be good to have him next year, along obviously with Joel Berry, Nate Britt, Brandon Robinson, Kenny Williams shooting threes on the wing. So we're good, and not even forgetting, Theo Pinson, and if Justin Jackson's back, as he's the popular one to be talking about leaving if anybody does. And then, down low, we still have Kennedy Meeks as long as he comes back. We have Tony Bradley coming in. Who am I forgetting? Isaiah Hicks. So exciting times. Still room for more in that class, but we'll see what happens there. Not a ton of top guys still out there to be gotten. Bad news this morning for Tar Heel fans is Bam. Not that he was high on us. I was pretty expected it wasn't going to be us, but committed to Kentucky, pretty much over NC State. NC State had thought to be almost a lock for him, along with Dennis Smith, and he announced he was going to UK. So see how that turns out. It's going to be a big time class for Kentucky next year, like it usually is. But we're not gonna talk about them here. This is a North Carolina podcast, and we are going to stick to the Tar Heels as much as we can here. A lot to get through, so let's jump on in. Exhibition game first. Not going to spend a ton of time on that because it was an exhibition game. Played without Marcus Paige, of course, who's out until at least beginning of December or so. We'll see about that. But and then we also played the exhibition without Justin Jackson, who was just pretty much precautionary because of an exhibition game. Wasn't feeling well after practice the day before. Played without those two guys, and it shows in kind of the minutes that were played. Was there about 9 guys, almost 10 guys that got double-digit minutes? A lot of guys in double figures. We played Guilford. We beat them by 50. I'm not even going to really go through that game. You can go find the stats on GoHeels.com if you want to see them, but doesn't count for us. It's good to get it going and stuff. It was exciting at the time, of course, because it's the first kind of basketball we had seen from them, but not what we're looking to spend our time and talk about here. I don't want to keep you any longer than I need to. So we opened the season on Navy's campus, on Navy's court in Annapolis, Maryland, playing against Temple. It was like officially the first game of college basketball season on Friday night. It was like 7 Eastern. No games. I think there's other games that started at the same time, not necessarily on TV. But this was kind of the official start, first game, at least televised out there. I had to rig it up. I don't get CBS Sports Network, and so rig it up to watch it on TV. And it took me most of the first half. It was, I know, under 10 minutes when I finally got it up there. Of course, following it through Twitter and through other things, videos or whatever. Finally got it up. We looked really good with both games. We looked really good, especially to say we're without our best player, our senior leader, All-American guard. We looked really good. Pretty close first half. Trying to remember. I don't remember what the halftime score was. Oh, there we go. 47-36. We're up 9 at halftime. Came out strong in the second. We actually even ended that game, the first half, pretty strongly, just to get that kind of lead. But came out good in the second half. People that stood out: Kennedy Meeks, career game thus far, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 5 for 7 from the free throw line, 3 blocks. Played 28 minutes. He looked a lot better than last year. Of course, if you remember last year, he was down weight at the beginning, and then it seemed like he almost kind of gained weight and became more, sluggish or slow or less explosive, whatever adjectives you want to use, as the season went on. But looked really good in this game. Bryce Johnson, pretty invisible first half. And Roy even commented in post game about how much, or the lack of energy there was from Bryce to start the game. Big second half, ended up with a double-double yet, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 of them being offensive. Shot free throws pretty well, 4 for 6. A couple blocks thrown in there. Only played 22 minutes. had 4 fouls. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember necessarily coming out because of foul trouble. Maybe a little bit in the first half, but yeah, just 22 minutes. He could definitely go more if he's not in foul trouble there. Justin Jackson really struggled in this game. Just couldn't find a shot. He was 2 for 7. Ended up with just 4 points. Did have a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio in his 25 minutes. But yeah, a lot of talk about him after the game is, what's going on. People are saying he's kind of like Harrison Barnes when he had Larry Drew as the point guard, not nearly as effective. Once Kendall came in there, Harrison kind of blew up, and they're saying Justin needs Marcus to be. I don't know that that's the case. But yeah, he definitely struggled in this one. And as we get into the Fairfield game, in the first half of the Fairfield game as well, Justin was pretty ineffective, couldn't find his range. So that will be an ongoing story for the national media until he becomes a little more consistent with his shot and with his play. Theo Pinson got the start in this one alongside Joel Berry in the backcourt there. Decent night. Theo Pinson, he is gonna be like that JP Tokoto. I think we may even be a little more impressed with him, especially his outside shooting. But he is just a stat stuffer so far. In this game, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Did have 4 turnovers, a block, a steal. Played pretty well. Joel Berry did very well. He was 2 for 2 from 3. And Theo did have 2 threes as well in that game. But Joel Berry, 14 points, had 4 assists, did have 3 turnovers, had a couple of steals, 6 rebounds, made all his free throws, made all his 3-pointers. Did a good job of kind of running the team. Yeah, really impressed with Joel the first 2 games as well. And like I said, as a team without Marcus, even we played really well. And so maybe I'll say that about everybody. Nate Britt off the bench came in, knocked down 3 out of 4 threes, 15 points, an assist, a steal. But yeah, his shot just looked good. And again, both games for Nate have been really good as far as his shooting goes. I think he's 7 for 10 from 3 so far in the first 2 games, shooting 70%. Obviously, we're not going to expect that the whole season, but if he can be consistent at 3, it'll be huge. And thus begins, if you remember from last year, if you listened to the podcast last year, there was a lot of debate amongst listeners and myself about who should be that backup for Marcus, whether it should be Nate Britt or Joel Berry. And so here it begins again in 2015-2016 season is who should be, maybe the starter, who should be kind of that main backup guy. They're both going to get minutes, but the discussion of who should be the first off the bench between Nate Britt and Joel Berry. So definitely send in your comments on Twitter. You can hit me up, alltarheeldan. Email in unchoopstalk@gmail.com. Get your opinion heard here on the podcast. Love to hear from all Tar Heel fans. So yeah, Isaiah Hicks, though, in that first game against Temple, a little sluggish, 15 minutes, scored 6 points, had 4 rebounds. Not quite as active as what we kind of need him or what he can be, as athletic as he is. But those are the guys that got double-digit minutes in that first game. Joel James had 9 minutes. I said it kind of in the predictions. He needs to be at that 8 to 10 minute. I might even bring it down that he needs to be playing even less. Maybe he needs to get like 6 to 8 minutes a game just to kind of give people breathers. I know that doesn't get him into a rhythm, but I don't know. He's a senior now. He's kind of had his chances. I'm not going to give up on him. He's going to have some good moments this year, and he's going to make me eat my words a couple times. But consistently, yeah, we need to get Isaiah closer to 20 minutes. And, in this game, Bryce only had 22. He needs to be up more at 25, 26. And those minutes need to come from Joel James, especially in the Fairfield game. We'll get to it, but his hands, and the commenters or announcers even mentioned it, but there were a couple of possessions where it was just kind of ugly for him. Our freshman, Luke May, got 4 minutes, got a couple of rebounds. Kenny Williams had 6 minutes, got 2 points. But another I don't know, another interesting thing. My prediction was Kenny would see some time, and after the exhibition, he played really good in the exhibition. People were like, "Oh, he's going to get minutes. He looks really good. He's ready." All this stuff. But to get 6 minutes against Temple in a, what did we end up winning? 91-67 win, to just get 6 minutes kind of shows. And even Fairfield, when we get to that, not a lot of minutes for Luke or Kenny. And I don't know. To me, again, this is early. Maybe I'm looking into things way too much. But to me, it's saying Roy knows, we got a special team here. We got to take advantage of it. We got to be, shooting on all cylinders all season long and stay to that top, get a 1 seed, get to the, excuse me, get to a Final Four, play for that championship if we can. And he's kind of all in on that, I think. And that's why you see the rotation already so small. Usually Roy's got, his rotation out 10, 11 guys sometimes early in the season in these non-conference games. And he's down already. So in the Temple game, let me count here real quick, 7 guys with double-figure minutes. And then Joel James with 9. Obviously, Marcus not playing. That gives us, 8 guys in double-digit minutes. He'll take mostly, Joel and Theo and Nate's minutes there. Take a couple maybe from each of those guys. But yeah, like I said, Joel's minutes, need to go down a little bit to Isaiah, to Bryce, as long as those guys aren't in foul trouble or hurt or anything like that. So to me, yeah, we got a 8-man rotation once Marcus comes back, with other couple, maybe Kenny gets 5 minutes a game. Joel James gets 7 minutes a game, something like that. Luke gets a couple minutes a game, but as far as that main rotation, I think it needs to be 8, and it seems like Roy has done that already. So yeah, as far as team stats go, in the Temple game, we win 91-67, out-rebounded them 49-32. We shot 7 for 12, which was kind of the big story out of the Temple game. We shot so well from 3, 7 for 12. Only had 9 turnovers, had 17 assists, so looked pretty good there. But yeah, good opening win on TV. Looked good for the Heels, especially again without Marcus. Hopefully I don't repeat myself too much there. But moving on to the Fairfield game, came out pretty sluggish in the first half. I think we were up 8 at halftime. It was like 40-32 in that one. And so even like the Temple game, we were on pace to break 100. Only ended up with, what did I say, 91. Fairfield, we had 40 at halftime. Didn't look like we were going to get there. Ended up, with more points, 92. But really sluggish in the first half. Obviously, Roy got on them, challenged them at halftime. We came out strong again at the beginning of the second half. And kind of put the game away, and eventually ended up winning 92-65. So 27-point win isn't bad. Well, I mean, it's good. It's not bad, obviously. But yeah, just a little slow going, and again, it's this team kind of playing down to competition, which is human nature a little bit, but we've just struggled with that so much. We gotta get over that. Got to get that killer instinct. So yeah, hopefully that's coming. Hopefully we get that figured out. But yeah, guys, we're really talented. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm just so excited for this season. I'm pumped. Unfortunately, as I look through the schedule, there's games that I might not get to watch live, or might even watch a day later or something, and it pains me already, and it hasn't happened yet, just because this is going to be a special team. Even I'm not predicting. Well, I think I did predict we'll win the championship, but whenever you get to the help me out here. Whenever you get to the tournament, and especially the Final Four, anything that can happen. So even if we don't win the championship, I mean, this is just going to be a fun team to watch and to go on this journey with. And that's why I'm glad you're here listening and taking the journey with me as a Tar Heel fan. So yeah, one guy, of course, for Fairfield goes off, gets 25 points. We didn't do, especially in the first half, a good job of marking him close enough. As far as our guys, Meeks, good game. Not the game he had against Temple for sure, but 8 points, 12 rebounds, so he missed his double-double by 1 basket. Bryce Johnson ended up with another double-double, so he's 2 for 2 in those this season. 16 points, 11 rebounds. Meeks had 4 steals as well, as I'm looking through here. Bryce, though, another big story, 8 for 10 from the free throw line. Obviously, we know free throws can be a story with this team, or with the Tar Heels in the last couple of years. And as far as I'm looking at free throws there, Pinson also, Theo went 6 for 8. Theo ended up with 11 points, 5 rebounds, but maybe the biggest story for Theo is 8 assists to no turnovers. And again, if we're comparing him to JP had a couple of those games, if you remember. There was games where he would have 6, 7 assists with no turnovers, but the problem with JP was there was also games where he had 6, 7 turnovers. So we'll see. Hopefully Theo's decision making is going to continue to be stellar throughout the season. That would be great, especially since if we're going to play 3 point guards consistently. Maybe not at the same time, but I'm just saying major minutes. And if he has that kind of assist to turnover ratio or even close, that's going to be huge for us as well. Like I said, Justin Jackson struggled in the first half again in this game. Ended up with 11 points. He got some fast break points in the second half. I wouldn't say he found his shot by any means, but ended up with 11 points. Excuse me. Shot 5 for 9 overall. 0 for 3 from 3 though. 1 for 4 from the free throw line. So yeah, we'll see. We'll monitor that as it goes. He needs to definitely pick it up as we get into better competition. And then again, Joel and Nate both just stellar in the backcourt. Joel Berry got the start again. Nate coming off the bench, but Joel 15 points, 4 assists. Did have 3 turnovers again though. He's got to get that down to 4 to 2, 4 to 1, something like that. Made 3 of 8 from 3. We actually went 8 for 23 from 3-point land, but it's not even so much that, we made 8, 7 of them for Joel and Nate. But just even shooting 23 last year, Marcus was like the only person who would even shoot a 3 unless they were completely wide open. But if we want to space the floor for those big guys inside, we have to even just let the other team know we're going to shoot those. Of course, it's better when you make it, but we just need to at least shoot it, and to shoot 23, even if we only made 8 of them, that's a good sign. This is a confident team, even again without their leader in Marcus. But yeah, Joel Berry again ran the team nicely, knocked down some shots, did really well, and he's going to be good when we get into next year as far as running our team and being. I don't know if he's going to be a vocal leader like Marcus is, but running our team and running Roy's system, we're going to be in good hands for a couple seasons. And then Nate coming off the bench was stellar. Shot 6 for 9 overall, 4 for 6. Like I said, he's 7 for 10 so far in the season from 3. Ended up with 17 points. He had 5 assists to 2 turnovers. Really, really good job from both those guys in the backcourt. Isaiah jumped it up a little bit, got 8 points, 5 rebounds. Definitely more active. Even not a ton more points or anything like that, but just so much more active. If you go back and watch the highlights, which you can do on the YouTube channel. If you search UNC Tar Heel highlights, been putting up some highlights there, and you can see just how active Isaiah is there. Got 18 minutes this game from Isaiah. Bryce was still at 21. Kennedy was down to 24. Bryce, again, I'm trying to remember. I don't necessarily remember a lot of foul trouble. If it was 3 fouls in the first half or something. Ended up with 4 fouls. Just 21 minutes. Again, I would Joel James, as we're talking about it, up to 12 minutes in this game. But like I said, there was a stretch in here, and we couldn't get a sub. I think there was even one waiting for him. But Joel just struggled holding onto the ball, catching the ball, grabbing the ball, that kind of stuff. And he was in there in not a very good offensive lineup at the time. And so again, I'd rather see his minutes from 12 down to 7, 8 minutes. And then give those, what is that, 5 to 6 minutes, give, a couple more to Bryce, get him up into the, 25 range, give a couple more to Isaiah and keep him close to 20. Yeah, it's not my call. It's Roy's. I'm not going to question him. I'm just going to say, what I see and what I think as a Tar Heel fan, which is what we all do, right? We're all opinionated. Kenny Williams got 6 minutes again, scored 4 points. Luke May got his first official basket. He had a dunk in the exhibition game, but played 4 minutes, got 2. See, and I like that for Luke. About 3-4 minutes, get us a bucket, get us a couple of rebounds, knock down a shot, something like that. And Kenny did miss his only 3-point attempt pretty badly. So we need him to come in. Again, if he gets 5 to 6 minutes, comes in, knocks down a 3 or even a long 2, or, knocks down a jumper, people know they got to get out on him. That just helps us out, gives people a breather, so much more. But yeah, team-wise, like I said, we won 92-65. You knew that already. Out-rebounded them just by 6. Gave up 15 offensive rebounds, which is too much for this team. We had 10 turnovers, so that's not bad, around 9 to 10. We forced, well, I don't know if they were all forced, but they had 19 turnovers. We shot 18 for 32 from the free throw line, which, if I can get a stat here, is 56% for the game. Not stellar by any means. I'd much rather, team free throws should be up more around 65 to 70% at the least. So we'll see how that goes. Again, we'll keep an eye on that here, as we always do on the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. That's the games we played. Before we leave you, I have a couple other things I wanted to talk about. First, man, where did my screens go here? All right, there we go. All right, so first, looking ahead, our schedule for the next week. Again, I'm recording this on Tuesday, November 17. We play Wofford tomorrow night, Wednesday, at 7 Eastern. As far as TV goes, it says RSN, which is going to be local. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, how I'm going to get that. So if you have a hookup, let me know. Send a link or something my way. I'm not afraid to use it. Anything to watch the Heels. But yeah, obviously we should win fairly easily there. What we need to watch is how we come out. If we come out like Fairfield and sluggish in the first half, or if we can really come out and put them away early. And then next Saturday, the 21st, is what was supposed to be Marcus' his home game against Northern Iowa. And obviously he's probably not going to be back for that. So, we'll have to see what happens there. It's kind of a sneaky game. People haven't said a lot about it, but playing at Northern Iowa, they're decent squad. Yeah, we got to be careful there, especially if we don't have Marcus. So be watching that. That's at 2 Eastern next Saturday. And then I will probably podcast either next week, Monday or Tuesday. So just in case I don't get to it before the games, Monday and Tuesday we have the CBE Hall of Fame Classic. We play Northwestern on Monday night. That is a 9:15 Eastern tip on ESPN2. And then we play, obviously, if we win. But again, that's kind of a sneaky game. I like this trip, though. We go out to Iowa for that Saturday game in Northern Iowa, and I'm guessing they would stay out there because there's no school between the Saturday, Monday games, and go to Kansas City. So it's a good kind of long trip for the team to really bond and all that stuff. But the Northwestern will be kind of sneaky as well. They got Chris Collins there. They're going to have like a stretch 4 or something that, Bryce or somebody's going to have to go out and guard. It'll be a good kind of change up for us and see how we can guard that stuff. When they have like a stretch 4 out there shooting threes. And then we play, again, as long as we win, we play the winner, or, we play either Missouri or Kansas State, I believe the other 2 teams. Yeah, that's a good trip. That's Monday and Tuesday. Like I said, I'll podcast either Monday before the Northwestern game or Tuesday kind of in between the games, depending on my schedule here, which has been kind of crazy. Not to get personal here. I know you probably don't care about my schedule and stuff like that, but that's why I try to podcast is early in the week, kind of get 1 week of games and we go from there. But we are in the process of selling our house and doing a little bit of renovations on the new house, and we'll be moving there. So I'm gonna have to see kind of what my podcasting looks like. So don't shoot me if I miss a week or something like that in the process of moving, and if we don't have internet connection or something like that. Like I said, it could be a struggle even to watch some of these games live and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And after that tournament, we got a week off before that Maryland game, which hopefully, I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about whether I want Marcus to play in that Maryland game. I think I talked about that in the last podcast, or maybe it was in the Periscope. I think I did a Periscope about Marcus getting hurt. If you want to, follow me on Periscope, All Tar Heel Dan. But if he comes back from Maryland, like that's such a hyped up game. All the cameras are on. If he comes, that's his first action. That's going to be a tough game. They're going to be top 5 just like us. Or if we can, see what the guys can do and step up in that challenge, and then kind of work Marcus in. We play Davidson next in Texas, Tulane, kind of work him back in. I think would almost be better for us. Challenge those guys against Maryland without Marcus yet. We can still beat them without Marcus. Makes it tougher, of course. But instead of that being his first game with everything there. But the other thing is, let's throw Marcus in and just see how ready he is. And if we lose, it's not the end of the world by any means. But yeah, that's our schedule coming up. Before we go, just want to kind of hit on rule changes. If you haven't heard or don't know yet, there have been some significant rule changes. The most obvious, most talked about has been the shot clock going from 35 to 30 seconds. But that's not the biggest rule. To me, the biggest rule change they had is getting rid of the 5-second closely guarded rule. So as long as the guy is dribbling, and now I just heard on TV, I wasn't even aware of this. If they're stationary, they're not dribbling, there is still a 5-second call. But if the guy's up top, the point guard is dribbling, you can be as close as you want, and it doesn't matter. He could, sit there for 30 seconds and get a shot clock violation, and nothing you can do about it. So that's really dumb that, all their rules are saying, let's get the game going faster. Well, if you allow one guy to stand there and dribble for, 28, 30 seconds for no penalty, then obviously that's not going to be good for the game or get it flowing the way they want it to. So that's interesting. Also, you can no longer score on a charge, an offensive foul, even if the ball leaves his hands before he commits the charge. The basket will not count. There's one less timeout. So Roy will have to save his timeouts even more, which can infuriate us at times, but he can hold on to those timeouts. There's one less in the game. So he may do that, and we'll have stretches where he won't take that timeout to save it for the end of the game. But also, coaches cannot call the timeout during live play. So if a player's in trouble, they have to call the timeout. Roy cannot call the timeout for them. So, we can still take it. The player just has to call it. If we're running up the court, the coach has to tell the player, hey, I want a timeout, and he has to tell the ref. Coaches can only take timeouts, out of bounds, if the ball's out of bounds, stuff like that. What I'm not sure about is after a made basket, if the coach can still do it. That technically should be live play, so I don't think they can, but not completely sure about that. What other rule changes do we have? Oh, if an offensive player kicks his leg out to draw a foul, if reviewed or if necessary, it can be an offensive foul. But it's supposed to be not a defensive foul if the offensive player kicked out his leg to draw the foul. And then if it's reviewed, it can even be an offensive foul. And then on that same rule, we'll call it the Duke rule. But if a player is accused of faking a foul, or faking to try to draw a foul, if it's reviewed and is acknowledged as faking the foul, it can be a technical foul on that player. So watch out, Duke, for all those flops. And I was even saying this morning. I was talking with a buddy and just saying, on any block charge foul, you could say, the guy's faking and just falling over to try to call that or to draw that charge. So It does have to be reviewed before it's a technical, and obviously they're not going to review every block charge or anything like that, or every time it's called a, well, either way, if you call it a charge and say, oh, you might have been faking, or even if they say it's a block, well, if you're got a blocking and you're, obviously they could be moving, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Like those block charges, like people are falling over to try to draw it. That's technically faking it. It could be a technical, but they're not going to review all of those. Those are all the big ones. I think there's more little ones. The arc underneath the basket was moved out. It still states that if your feet are on or above or anything inside, obviously, can't be a charge, which I think Isaiah Hicks got away with one of those in our Fairfield game. But yeah, it says even if you're on your tiptoes and your feet are over that line, it can't be a charging foul. It would be a blocking foul. But yeah, those are the big ones. Talking of Duke and Duke's game, just to hit on quickly tonight, the Champions Classic. Again, this being recorded on Tuesday, the 17th of November. Duke takes on Kentucky, the two #1 recruiting classes for this year. But to me, the more interesting one is the Kansas-Michigan State game. Yet Duke and Kentucky is going to get all the hype. They're both top 5 teams. But they're both really young. They both lost a lot. They both got a good recruiting class, obviously, #1 and 2 recruiting classes in the nation. So they're not going to be what they're going to be, like in March at the end of the season. They're going to take time to look as good as what people are ranking them to be. To me, the more interesting one is Michigan State and Kansas. We know Izzo always develops his players. Kansas is a very experienced and talented team, much like we are. And so to watch them, they're going to be a lot more developed and ready to get right into the play. And so to me, that game is much more interesting than the first one. Of course, I'm going to watch both of them, watch basketball most of the day today. Yeah, we'll size up. We don't play Kentucky this year, but we'll size up Duke and some of those other top teams tonight. So we'll see. Yeah, there's more I could say about Duke, but we're not going to go into that. Like I said, this is a Tar Heel podcast. We're going to stick to talking about the Heels, and that'll just make us all much more happier and get us along on our days much better than talking about those Duke guys. So that is all I had. Probably kept you longer than I wanted. Hopefully you don't find any of it to be a waste of time. Like I said, I am so glad you chose to either listen or watch this podcast. Would love to hear feedback from you. Love to have you tell a friend, spread the word about the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. If your friends don't know what a podcast is, just show them right on their phone. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, just about any podcast app. Just go in there and show them what it's all about, show them how to listen, and spread the word, and let's unite Tar Heel Nation. That is the mission here at the UNC Hoops Talk podcast, the podcast for the fans by a fan. Again, all of my contact information, Twitter, email, all that good stuff down below. Just like last year, if you followed, throwing up vines of all the highlight video or all the highlights during the game. So be following on Twitter for those as well, and spreading those highlights of Tar Heel top plays. And then they also get thrown up on YouTube, UNC Hoops Talk on YouTube. So plenty of ways to keep in contact. I would love to hear from you, and love to hear what you think about the podcast. What can be better? What I should keep on doing? All that good stuff. But like I said, kept you long enough. Ready for college basketball the rest of today. Tar Heel basketball tomorrow night. And until I talk with you guys next week on the next one, go Heels.